Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in for another episode of Paranomaly Beyond Disclosure. We are a weekly podcast dedicated to sincere, in-depth investigations into the paranormal, supernatural, and the metaphysical, with a special focus on the UFO topic. We take a sincere, analytical approach, thoroughly evaluating each case and its implications. Our discussions go beyond the surface as we engage with researchers, investigators, and experiencers to explore the deeper layers of their testimonies. We strive for high-resolution analysis, carefully examining evidence, patterns, and perspectives that challenge conventional thinking. If you're looking for a podcast that seeks deeper understanding, you're in the right place. Please be sure to like and subscribe and follow to receive notifications when new content is made available. You can also visit us at www.paranomalypodcast.com for more content and information, including all our social links. Thank you again for watching or listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode of Paranomaly Beyond Disclosure. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching, joining in tonight. We have a great episode coming up. Tonight we're stepping into one of the most compelling and emotional experiencer stories that we've brought to this show. Jesse Long isn't just a witness to high strangeness. He's lived it from the age of 5 to the moment everything changed in his life. To 1999, I believe, correct?
Yes.
This isn't about theories. This is about live truth and trauma and mystery and maybe even healing. So settle in. We're about to begin. All right. Thank you, everyone, so much. Jesse, thank you very, very much for joining us tonight. I'm very excited. I'm glad that you're here. And yes, Jim, go ahead. Lead the way, my friend.
Well, I think we should start with the initial, which you feel for sure was your first abduction when you were 5. You don't think you had any abductions prior to 5 years old?
Well, strangely enough, I just recently saw a photograph when I was 2. My brother's baby book. We all have baby books, but he finally got his baby book, believe it or not. And in there was a photo of him and me. And these hats that get on your head and they're just round, like a artist hat, sort of.
Okay.
But anyway, I'm holding it up in the middle, admiring it as if it were a UFO. So I don't understand that photo. If I had seen one before, or
you're holding up a hat and it's kind of a rounded hat that almost kind of resembles.
It looks like a flying saucer. So I don't know if I had experiences before, and I don't know what that photo is all about.
I think it's always possible that there could be prior experiences to what the abductee thinks is their first experience. You know, just given the nature of abductions and the memory suppression. But that's interesting. Well, let's dive into the first experience. And I believe you were 5 years old, and your brother was involved in this as well. And give us the full breadth of it. You know, go into as much detail as you remember, and let's walk through it slowly. And tell us what happened.
Okay. Well, my family was living in Florence, Alabama, on North Royal Avenue. We had a sandbox. I'm sorry, I got to back up here. First one was Rogersville, Tennessee. Sandbox was in the back of the yard at the end of the driveway. He and I were outside playing in the sandbox, and I noticed there was a hill behind us, a slight hill, but there was a man standing at the hill looking down at us, and I knew he wanted us to follow him up the hill. Don't know how I knew that. Had to be internal.
Right. So you don't actually recollect a voice in your mind, but you feel like in hindsight, you knew somehow that he wanted you to follow him, so you suppose that it was probably a telepathic conveyance.
Correct.
Which is common, you know.
Which most of my abductions have been telepathic.
Right. Yeah. And so you felt compelled, strangely, to follow him, or
I didn't seem reluctant, which is odd.
But
my brother was reluctant, so I had to grab him by the hand and I guess force him to go with me.
Mm-hmm.
I guess out of fear. I don't know. So we walked up the hill and followed him into the wooded area behind the house, and came up on what to me appeared to be a house under construction. It was round, but it looked like 2x4s and wood. My brother described it as a dome that reminded him of a basketball that was cut in half and sitting there.
But you don't remember any kind of dome shape. You just remember.
Well, the house was dome shaped that I saw. It was round, but it was confusing because I could see what I thought was lumber. Obviously, it wasn't.
But maybe you did see lumber, and that was the typical kind of either screen memory or what I think is a kind of psychic projection, where they can mask themselves and they can mask their craft. There's been stories where children have been abducted and remember going into what looked like a carnival exhibit or some kind of stand or something, and that was the craft. They projected as they do into your mind and made you see it that way. So it might have been something like that.
Yeah, that's what I figure.
Yeah.
As we were approaching the craft, one of the, I'm going to call him a creature. One of the creatures stepped out, and it looked like he had something in his hand. My brother and I first, years later, described it as a hatchet or an axe, but he sort of went like that and zapped us, and we were paralyzed. Years later, we thought, well, why would a grown person throw an axe at a child? Well, it wasn't an axe. It was a beam provider that paralyzed us. So,
which I've heard before, and you described the device that projected the beam as looking like a rod or something, right? Yeah, right. And there's been a lot of consistency with this rod being seen, and I've heard about so like almost like a laser light sort of beam projecting from it.
Yep.
And it hit. Now, what I wanted to get before we move on was, did you already acknowledge at this point in the sequence of things that it was a non-human being?
I didn't know what it was.
Did it look human, or you just didn't get a good look at it up to this point?
Looked like a small human, childlike. Wasn't a grown man. I guess it was one of the Greys.
But maybe masked, or you just didn't get a good look at it to tell.
Yeah, I don't think I had time to look at it and comprehend it because he zapped it right away.
And then describe what you felt immediately. Your body goes limp, or
passed out.
Consciousness. You
lost consciousness.
Okay, yeah.
And apparently they carried us into the craft because the next thing I knew, I was laying on a table. And a lot of things were happening at once, like this square thing came down out of the ceiling, which had lights on it, and which I assume now was an X-ray of my body. There's a lot of little guys around the table staring at me.
At this point, recognizable as Greys, as gray aliens?
what I would now say were gray. At the time, I wasn't sure what they were.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm 5 years old.
Right.
Because when we start talking about the tall white being, at one time I thought he was the bunny rabbit. But
And this is well before Close Encounters of the Third Kind. This is well
this is
before
1955. Yeah.
1955. So well before any kind of media was out there, depicting, gray beings or anything like that.
We didn't have a TV set, so I wouldn't have seen any of this on TV.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. And so some type of scanning device comes out of the ceiling. Was it visible at first and then sort of emerged out of the ceiling? Or do you remember any of the detail of?
I just remember it being there. I just remember it coming. I remember it coming down closer to my body. I didn't see it physically come out of the wall. I think when I woke up, it was already there.
Yeah. Yeah. And then did you describe in another interview what seemed like tools or machines that were attached to the walls?
Yeah.
Of the craft?
Like monitors, I guess is a good definition. Monitors and gadgets and knobs and a lot of strange symbols, but I didn't know what they were. Of course, I wasn't reading at this point, so I didn't know what words were.
Right. And where were the symbols located on the
just on the wall?
Machine, on the wall. Lots of them? A symbol here and there, or?
Well, it wasn't completely covered. They're mainly, say if this was a monitor, mainly around the monitor and on the monitor. So I don't know what. I don't know if the X-ray was projecting on the monitor what they were seeing inside me, but well, like in a hospital bed, you have all these monitors going off. If you look at a monitor, you see all kinds of symbols and things.
Right.
Like what it was.
Similar to that, yeah. Todd, do you have any questions here?
No, not yet. Polly did though. And it was pretty good. I was thinking about it when he was talking. She wanted to know if you felt any pain during the procedures, or was he explained what and why they were doing it?
They didn't say anything about what was going on.
No communication at all.
The only thing I heard in my head was, "Be calm, it'll be over soon."
Which is the most common type of communication. If there's any most of the time there isn't really a lot of communication, except the reassuring statements. We're not going to hurt you. This will be. We'll do this, and then we'll take you back home, or something. To that effect.
Jesse, when you were, of course, you're 5, correct?
Yes.
And this is happening. Were you terrified or frightened, or did they make you feel calm? Do you remember?
I was not frightened, and I don't know why. I guess because they suggested that I would be calm telepathically, or hypnotized me to be calm, or maybe the zapping they did made me calm. I don't know what that was.
Okay.
So there was no pain, even when they put the implant in my leg. There was no pain.
So what followed from the point? Let's go back to the point where you're on the table. You notice there's some type of scanning device that's sort of lowering down towards you. You notice that there's small gray. Now, did you get a good look at any of these beings at this point in time in the abduction?
Well, whatever table I was on was up high enough that I could only see their heads.
Yeah, which
they were looking over at me.
Yeah,
but there was some on both sides and some at my feet. And they all look the same, little grays. Now
with,
that I know
with the black almond-shaped eyes, huge eyes, shiny eyes,
large dark eyes. Now, I've seen photos people have drawn of these big almond-shaped eyes. That's not what they were. They were normal-looking human eyes, but at least twice, if not 3 times, as large as a human eye. But they were dark. They were black.
That's significantly smaller than is normally depicted in what we imagine them as being.
Yeah.
I'll
Well,
leave
when I first saw a drawing of that, I said, well, that's not how they look. And I didn't know that's not how they look.
Yeah. Todd, do you want to bring up our drawings real quick? And maybe there's one that you notice is the closest. We haven't brought up our drawings in a while. We have a bunch of abductee drawings. Did they seem slanted? Did they seem? Some people say they weren't really as slanted as normally depicted. They were more kind of horizontal.
Yeah.
They were like that with you, more sort of horizontal.
Just
but
larger human eyes.
Rounded, or were they at almond?
Teardrop, I guess. A little here and bigger here. I guess it's a teardrop. But this way, not this way.
And do they seem to be doing things? Do they seem to be, are they paying attention to you? Or are there ones that are doing this sort of staring procedures, looking at you in the eyes? Or are they busy, unconcerned with you, doing other things?
They seemed to just be standing there watching what was going on. And I sort of felt like they were holding me down on the table. They were standing there. I see their head and their hands were holding me down on the table. Couldn't see their hands, but that's what it felt like.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's closer than the big almond eyes because they're this way, but that's still not it.
Do you remember the ridge? A lot of people don't mention, since we've had that one up and this one has it too. Do you remember? A lot of abductees describe above the eye a kind of bony, or maybe not bony. I mean, we don't know what exactly it's composed of, but a kind of ridge.
That picture, the previous picture, the very bottom, well, that creature on the bottom right looks like one I drew. Anyway, the lizard one, the one in the bottom that looks like female, is the closest to the eyes that I recall.
Do you mean the lizard one or the one right above the lizard one?
Right there. Now, the one in the middle of the page at the very bottom, it's a woman-looking thing with hair.
That's what they looked like.
Except not the hair. Yeah, that's more the face, more the eyes.
Okay. Interesting. I'm wondering, did it have a? I guess you could only see the tops of their heads, so maybe you didn't notice. Did you notice any nose or any protuberance where the nose should be, or holes? Or
I didn't notice one.
Couldn't notice that. Yeah. So the eyes were pretty horizontal, but all black, solid black, not
correct,
containing any whites.
Yeah, not that.
And they were gray skinned.
There's the tall white being on the far right. Now, tall white being on the far right. The next one you showed me, what was the next slide? The one in the middle there is pretty close to everything. Their eyes are closer, and yeah.
Okay, so let's go back then to the sequence of events. So you notice the scanning device, you notice them around you, and then what proceeds to unfold at this point?
They start working on my leg. One of the beings handed another being this device. I don't even know if I know what it looked like. And they worked on my leg and put that, I call it Junior now, but it's a piece of crystal in my leg.
And that was, you understood that to be happening. You understood at that point in time that they were inserting something into your leg.
I knew they were doing something to my leg. I didn't know they were inserting anything. I just knew something was happening. They
were doing something down there.
Yeah.
But you now know in hindsight, because you found there was, well, maybe we can go into, do you want to go into that now? Or or should we? Let's finish the sequence of events, and then we'll talk about how you knew, in fact, that it was an implant, and I believe it gave you trouble and was bothering you and stuff like that. But so they're working on your leg. They didn't do a full body examination or anything. They didn't do the palpation all over, the touching you and going up and down the body and touching They didn't do anything like that.
Unless they did that before I woke up.
Oh, yeah.
But the only thing I know is I guess the X-ray machine went all the way up and down my body, but it seemed to stay on my chest more.
Okay. Yeah. So they're working on your leg, and then what else do you remember?
The tall white being said, "Don't tell anybody this. Don't tell your parents this. Don't speak of this." And the next thing I know, and John and I are back in the sandbox asleep.
Let's go back to the tall white being. So was he there initially, or did he come into the room? Do you remember him coming into the craft, or coming into the enclosure where you were?
At one point, he was just there. I don't know how.
He was just there, and
I'm on my back, looking straight up, so it's hard to remember what's going on around here.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then you made eye contact with you saw him and saw what he looked like.
Yeah, he came around and sort of bent down over me and said telepathically, "Don't speak of this to anyone."
Now let's go into the description. Now you call it the tall white by virtue of just the fact that he was tall and white, or are you drawing at all, or do you feel like he resembled what ufology calls the tall whites, or what Charles Hall? I don't know if you've ever heard Charles Hall's story, the Air Force person on Nellis Air Force Base. Well, he encountered beings in the Nellis Air Force Base range in Nevada, and referred to them as the tall whites. And they were thin, tall. Some of them had hair, very thin hair, human looking, but their skin was paper white. Was the skin, in fact, that white, paper white, or what was the skin tone? Exactly?
Well, every time I saw the tall white being, he was covered head to foot in what I would call crinoline. That material.
What is that?
It's a material that little girls used to have petticoats made out of. You could see through it, but it's real crunchy.
Maybe you can bring that up, Todd.
He was covered in that from head to foot. So he looked odd underneath that.
So that was transparent to some degree.
Yeah, more human than the Greys. There was a big difference in him and the Greys.
A big difference.
Yeah.
As far as human looking, what was human about him? The face had eyes.
The height compared to the 3 or 4 foot tall Greys. Yeah.
And he was about human sized, and
6 something. Yeah. Estimated. I mean, I'm a little kid and I'm laying on a bed. How do I know how tall he is?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And human-sized eyes, or larger than average eyes?
Larger than average eyes, but still black.
Solid black? No whites?
I didn't see any whites of the eyes of any of them. And see, I've always tried to figure out, well, is that their real eyes, or are they, I hate to say contacts, but are like some kind of covering glasses or something to protect their eyes?
Yeah, it seems like that's a possibility. Many abductees, a minority of abductees, have seen pupils behind the black.
So, Jesse, this is what the material looked like, correct?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, all right.
Interesting. Yeah, so I know exactly. Yeah, like yeah, like little kids, girls, like tutus
Right.
are made
Almost
out of.
a wedding veil, almost.
Yeah, or like a wedding veil. Right. Yeah.
But it was white, and he was white,
And it was loose fitting, and it was kind of
draped over him. Yeah.
draped over him. Interesting. And you could see all the way through it. And so you could see his body fairly well. Any notable features of the body that were different from human or that stood out? You could tell he was thin, right? He was
thin,
thinner than typical.
typical human. Double the size, human eyes. I did notice more of a mouth than on the grays. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, later on when I would see him, like I said, I thought at one time he was the bunny rabbit, Easter bunny, because it was one Easter morning that I woke up. Oh, there's the Easter bunny. Well, no, it wasn't the Easter bunny. But later on too, I thought, well, he's very, I hate to say this, but he's very Christ-like, out like this, covered in this white, and his arms out, and the crinoline draping over his arms.
So he had a kind of
Welcoming
disposition with his welcoming kind of.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, do you think that could have been how you might recognize him? So he put something like Jesus so that you as a boy would recognize that.
It's possible. Yeah. I mean, he was the same throughout all my abductions. It's the same guy every time.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that talked to me telepathically about it, whatever he was saying to me or doing to me or going to do to me.
And what about hair?
I didn't notice hair because of the covering.
So that covering went over his head as well.
Yeah.
It didn't drape over the face, did it? Like
no, it's all over his entire body, face, everything.
Oh, so his face was concealed behind.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh,
it's like you'd put out a sheet of crinoline about the size of a bed, and he just stepped up in the middle of it, and it all fell to the sides. It was just all.
That's very strange. And yeah, I wonder if that's the normal attire, or that was done to kind of obscure a little bit his body, because maybe it would have been disturbing to you in some way.
I think that's it. He was just trying to hide as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. And then what did he say? And what was his what was the totality of his conveyances telepathically?
Don't tell anybody else about this.
And what do you think was the demeanor that he said that in? Do you think it was at all threatening, or do you think it was it was just
caring and concerned?
Right.
Very gentle.
Which very well may be coming from that place, because if this is the 50s, if you have any care and concern, for your subject and you're the abductor, you probably wouldn't want him to say anything, because that would just mean pretty severe consequences, for your reputation and so forth. Or, I mean, not that you had much of a reputation at 5 years old, but, as far as your family relationships and them thinking that you're normal.
I never told anybody about it until the mid-'80s.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't tell my parents about it. Now,
because that you were adhering to that.
Yes.
You were told
my
not
brother
to.
and I didn't talk about it.
Oh, so you didn't even talk to your brother about it afterward?
No, we were told not to.
Now, wasn't that a little bit strange, though, that you had this extraordinary experience together, and did you feel like you wanted to, but you thought, no, they said not to, so I'm gonna.
Because I didn't know what they might do if I did.
Okay.
I didn't know what the repercussions would be if I told anybody, including Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, now he got to go into a room and play games with a praying mantis-looking creature.
Yeah, let's talk about what he remember. Did he have conscious recollection immediately afterward, or did he not have any memory until I think he also got a regression with Yvonne, right?
Well, in the 80s, I had started talking to him about it, and he remembered the being that came for us, and he said it was an axe that was thrown at us instead of that beam of light. And he said, then I got to go into a room to play games with this praying mantis creature.
That's right. So he saw a praying mantis creature, and you didn't see any praying mantis creature.
No.
And just for the listener,
years later, he actually built a 6-foot tall replica of a praying mantis.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He built a round house here in East Tennessee that looked like a landed UFO. And he was going to put this praying mantis on the roof. Never got to that point.
Yeah,
but that's what his plans were.
So he became real identified with that experience. So he remembers playing games. So he didn't go through any kind of medical procedures or anything like that to his recollection. Or he even went through this in regression.
Right.
And nothing came up other than what he consciously recollected about
Except there's something he said he thinks he got in his ear. One of his lobes, there's like a BB thing in his ear. If you touch it, it's like a BB in there. But he does not ever want to have that removed. So we don't know what that is.
Okay, so let's get into implants a little bit, and we'll talk about your implant. And I think you noticed right after this abduction, right? There's something not quite right with your left shin.
Yes, it hurt.
It hurt. And
Jim, hold on one second before you go. I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
Jesse, you said that you didn't tell anyone until the 1980s. What finally changed that made you speak out? I mean, knowing when you're little, you don't know the repercussions.
Right.
Was you not worried about that any longer? You're like, wait a minute, this has been a long time now.
Well, I actually read Bud Hopkins' books called Intruders, and that woke me up. And I contacted Bud, and he got me in touch with Yvonne's group. And at that point, I thought, these other people in this group are describing what I went through as well. So I'm just going to come out with it.
All right. Yes. Thank you so much for that.
So as far as implants, I just wanted to comment. That's what your brother saw. He remembers an insertion of a BB into his ear.
He doesn't remember. No.
But he had some kind of feeling that had happened, though.
Well, I think he relates it that. I think when he was older and he kept, touching his ear, he kept feeling it. I don't know. I've not discussed it with him. I don't know if he didn't know what it was. He didn't know how it got there.
But that is a common location where they will put an implant like that, either up the nose or in the ear. One of the strange things about the implantation of these devices is that a lot of times the abductee, even through regression, doesn't recollect seeing anything go in or anything like that, but they just somehow know that there's a lot of aspects to the abduction phenomenon that are like that. They just seem to know for some reason. I really feel that they are conveying to you telepathically as you're going along what they're doing. They're disclosing, maybe not through like the syntactic kind of telepathy, like saying in your mind and you hearing language, this is what's happening, but you're just given the impression that this is what's happening. And I think that's actually communication. You just hear that again and again. Somehow I just know, that they've implanted me. They put something inside me. And then on other occasions, the abductee will actually see on the end of an implement, a long sort of thin implement, we'll see a BB, sometimes a BB with holes in it, sometimes a BB with tines, sometimes a smooth BB. They'll see it go in, and then when the tool comes out, they see it gone. And they, deduce from that, something has been left inside their body. And then these have come out with abductees on a rare occasion. Sometimes when you're blowing your nose, these BBs will become dislodged and will come out. And then there's always a kind of strange behavior with the abductee as far as becoming concerned with the thing. Oftentimes it's just discarded or lost, or it disappears inexplicably. It seems like there's some measures taken, telepathically or psychically or otherwise, to prevent, the discovery of these things, or to prevent the analysis of these things. They just, most of the time they go missing, or they just dissolve, or the abductee strangely throws them away, even though normally they would have kept them because, it's something important. But okay, so after this abduction, and you woke up, so you woke up in the sandbox with your brother, and did you notice right away on your shin something wrong?
I felt something was wrong on my leg. It didn't ever bleed. It never bled. I mean, I showed it somehow. Mom was bathing us, and she asked me about it, and I said, I don't know. And it never bled, ever, which was unusual. It just hurt. I mean, there's a picture of me sitting on the front porch steps where I'm moving the sock down away from it, because even the sock around my foot there made it hurt. Mm-hmm. And my brother, whenever we were wrestling, he would sit on my legs and I'd give up instantly because it was so painful.
So he kind of discovered that about you, that you had that kind of weak spot there.
Yeah.
And how long was it painful like that? Did it remain painful?
Until it came out.
Until it came out in 1989, it was always painful, and you had to, the clothes would agitate it. Interesting. Yep. Wow. And what did you think throughout that entire span of time? When did you become, like, did you know right at the outset of realizing that hurt there, that was something that they had put inside there? Or when did you put it together that was from the abduction?
Right. I put it together later.
Maybe after reading Intruders, or after becoming
a member of the group. Yeah. In fact, it was Yvonne that suggested I have it taken out and analyzed.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about that, and then we'll go back to some more abduction experiences. Okay, so what led? So Yvonne suggested to you, and that's kind of what prompted you to do that,
right?
And who did you get in touch with? You got in touch with Whitley Strieber, I think.
That was later. That's after it came out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, we had I didn't want to know, but they arranged to have a doctor take it out at a hospital that I didn't even know where it was. I didn't want to know because we weren't sure if it was legal to take it out and hand it to me, or if they had to go destroy it in a biopsy. So I just didn't want to know who it was or where it was taken. So laying on the table, he had to use maximum numbing medication, and I still felt everything he did. Every cut he did, every prodding, pulling.
And he found that really surprising and hard to believe.
I did. He did too. He says, well, I can't give you any more. I'm giving you the maximum. I said, well, I still feel it. He says, you can't. I said, I'll show you. I said, I looked away, poke me, and I'll tell you when you poke me and when you don't. And I told him exactly when he poked me.
Mm-hmm. So you're real sensitive for some reason.
Yeah.
In that area.
Yep.
And then so he successfully removes it. And then what did you find? What did it look like?
It looked like a shard of broken glass in the shape of a triangle. Sort of cloudy looking. And then we looked at it under a microscope, very strong microscope. And down one side, it looked like a soundtrack.
What do you mean by that? What does it sound? I don't quite understand.
Have you ever seen film that has soundtrack down one side? It's like this kind of stuff. that's how the projectors read the sound on a strip of film.
Can we look this up? Could we probably find a picture of this somewhere? What would we?
Soundtrack on film.
Soundtrack on film. See if you can find a picture of that. And this would, you couldn't see this just looking at it, but when you looked under a magnifying glass, you could see something, like etched into it.
No, not that.
Maybe type in, Todd, what he said, soundtrack on film.
Right. But and then on one side, it looked like a beehive.
Like
six-sided,
segmented honeycomb kind of a pattern.
Yep.
So normal glass doesn't look like that.
No.
Are we this is still alien implant photos. At the top, Todd, it still says alien implant photos. I don't know why it reverted back.
And then on the very tip,
mm-hmm.
There was actually, it created a pyramid. Literally, three-dimensional pyramid sitting on the end.
They kind of stuck out from the triangle.
Stuck out on the tip.
Like another kind of dimension or pyramidal sort of point to it.
Which maybe was required in order to stick it in my body.
Now, was it symmetrical? Was it an equilateral? No. It was not symmetrical, which I would expect, because these things, what seems to be the pattern with implants is they want it to be rationalized away as something natural, right. Like you analyze these things and you find out that they're composed of the same things that can be found in our body naturally, and not in any kind of weird combinations or anything like that, as far as the proportions of the elements. And that seems to be intentional. It seems like for sure they don't want a discovered implant to be a smoking gun.
Right. And if you can pull up some pictures from Whitley Strieber's book, Confirmation, that I'm chapter 16 and 17, you should be able to find some photos of it.
Of the actual
implant, yeah. Confirmation.
Type in Whitley Strieber. And then anything, and then you got it antler. So what's what unfolded after this? The implant was taken out. Did you immediately take it to get it analyzed somewhere, or was it way later?
It took a while to find someone willing to do it. I'm trying to look and see if
maybe implant would be a word to add into the search bar.
Yeah, I don't know if you can go through the pages and go to chapter 16 and 17. But anyway, it took a while. Let's see, the first time it was analyzed, Whitley Strieber arranged for this guy to put it under an electron microscope and all this, and he analyzed it and said, well, it had to have been created at least 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, that's hot. Glass doesn't even.
That's well beyond what glass needs to be heated to form glass. Right. Glass is what, about like 2,000, I think you mentioned, or someone mentioned.
Yeah.
About 2,000 degrees it takes to form glass. And so they could establish that with a high degree of confidence that it had to whatever the material was, because that was the melting point of it, or
no, it never. I don't know how he came up with that figure. Mm-hmm. I mean, they never subjected it to heat, and I would not have allowed that. Yeah, I don't see anything in there. Look up Jess's implant.
Jesse H. Long implant type up.
And then later on, we took the device to the implant to
We're just gonna get done
to a place in, I think it was Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Did some more tests on it, and they had a special way to test it with light going through it. And even though it was cloudy, it allowed 100% of the light to pass through, which they said is impossible. That even a pane of glass does not allow 100% of light to pass through. Now that up there, at the top, someone drew that. That's supposed to be me.
The table procedure, or
right there, that.
Oh, that.
Me being presented one of my children. I don't know who did that, but that's what that is. But anyway, so it should not have allowed 100% of light to pass through it. There I am.
There is, Todd, if you want to go to YouTube, there is a little clip. Isn't there a little clip on YouTube of, or I think it might be 9 minutes long, actually. But there is, you can click, you can see what that is. How long is it? We have no audio.
Yeah.
Well,
you can
let it play.
That's a recreation someone came up with that happened to me.
What do you think about these recreations like this with the
none of that's right?
Much more dramatic and horror film-esque kind of vibes to it compared to reality. Was the environment, the craft that you were in, it was much more sort of clinical, and you described it as all white, right?
All
and
white,
everything
clean,
was very clean, all white, dome-shaped ceiling.
Yep. Like what was that movie with? I can't even think of his name. The guy that was abducted out with Travis Walton.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the movie about him, and he was in this dirty. With the aliens, no, it wasn't like that at all. Totally opposite of all that. In my experience,
right. And in most people's experiences, I think it is like that. Although Whitley Strieber in Communion described the craft where he was as feeling dirty, at least he described it as, and kind of dark and cramped and different from the typical environment.
This was all bright white.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know what? The portrayal of Travis Walton's experience in that ship in the movie, that was terrifying. And I have seen some interviews after all of that years later where he says it wasn't that bad. It wasn't of course that's Hollywood. They're going to make it really bad, but yes, I guess his thing, he was fighting them. He was fighting them. Yeah. But somehow or a way they saved him.
Well, see, one of these days I hope I'm able to recreate my story in film. It'll be more horrifying than all of that because you don't have to have the horror elements. It's already scary just because you don't know what's going on.
Right, and you have no control. I think. Right. Would you agree that that's kind of the terrifying aspect, that you're completely paralyzed? You know that something is going to be done to you. You know, there's the impression that they've got you. You can't get away. Something's going to be done, and you have no control. You just have zero control, and that's kind of what some abductees describe as the really terrifying element.
Well, the most terrifying was the time they crossbred me with a female creature.
Yeah, which I want to get into that
baby that died.
Yes, but let's go to the next significant. I don't know if maybe you want to go to when you lived in Florence, Alabama. The next significant abduction that you have some considerable recollection of.
The
Yeah,
flight.
let's go. Do you want to go to that one where, yeah, you were taken over
Florence,
Florence?
Alabama.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
tell us the whole story. Start from the beginning and give us the whole breadth of what you remember about that experience.
Florence, that's where we lived on North Royal Avenue. I was in bed. I don't know how, but I think I was taken out my bedroom window. And I ended up in the front yard. And we had a cat, a little cute little black and white cat called Fifi. One of the Grays had the cat holding it, wanting me to come get it. So as soon as I reached for it, they snagged me and I was out.
You came out of the house, or how did it?
Yeah.
Were you floated out, or
I
you
must have
fell out the
been.
window, or?
I must have been floated out. I don't know. I don't know how that works. Sorry.
And where was the Gray with the cat? Inside the house?
In the front yard, they were in a circle by a bush and a screened-in porch, waiting in a circle. And one in the middle of the circle had the cat, wanted me to come get the cat. And I walked toward the cat, and as soon as I reached for it, they grabbed me, and I was out.
Well, that is really interesting. You were lured out with the cat.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before, but there's so much variation and differences in techniques. And then you were out, and then you remember your
Being in the crowd.
Memory ceases at that point, and then it returns when you're on the craft.
And I'm standing in front of a huge screen. Now it's nighttime, but the screen looks like daytime. It's showing me
It's showing you the outside, but in daylight.
Daylight. So it must be one of those
natural daylight, or
Yeah.
was it like night vision daylight, or night vision illuminated?
Well, at the time I couldn't tell. I didn't know there was a difference then. It just looked like daylight to me. Because I could see our house down below, because we were up near he was hovering over a telephone pole at the end of our driveway. So I could look back and see the house. And then it started moving from my house going. And so you viewing all this through this big, I had some kind of monitor TV screen.
Yeah. And so it was immediately apparent that what you were seeing on the screen was in real time happening.
Yes.
There was no confusion as to, whether you're looking at a video or recording of the house on another day when it was daylight, because it started to move. And that's what kind of gave you the impression that this is like a direct sort of video feed from outside the craft.
Yeah, I'm assuming that.
And what did the monitor itself look like compared to human crafted monitor?
Sort of curved. It was bigger than me on both sides, so I was sort of standing inside of it.
Oh, you were standing inside of it.
Not like I was looking at a monitor
around you.
It was around me and above me and below me.
Okay, interesting. Okay, and then you're watching the craft move over Florence, and what do you see?
Well, I saw the house we were living in. Next, I saw the college, which was close by. Then I saw Appleby School, where we used to go to school. Then I saw downtown Florence. Then I saw a house we lived in on 315 West College Street. And then I saw the school we were currently going to. And then I saw a body of water, in that order. And later, I pinpointed these places on a map of Florence. And it was a perfectly straight line. And I would never have known that, because we didn't have a car for a long time in Florence. So when we would go, I didn't know where we were going, how we got there. Roads weren't squares. There were curvy roads and all. So that made me realize I'd actually been there and done that.
Yeah. Now, what was the imagery, a continuous sequence, or
Yes.
did it jump from location to location to location? It was a
Continuous.
continuous.
Oh, and I forgot to tell you, there was this right next to Appleby. There was a house that my fourth grade teacher lived in that I remember. Going through downtown, I thought we were going to hit some trees, but we were going just at treetop level because I could see trees coming at me, and I thought we're going to hit these trees.
And you became concerned for a brief moment that you were going to crash. Yeah. Interesting. And are you thinking anything else throughout this? Are you thinking, what is going on? Or are you in the mindset of a child thinking, this is amazing, I'm flying, in a spacecraft, and we're going, what my friends think, or what was going through your mind?
That I wasn't getting car sick. Because I was born with vertigo. I was born with an inner ear problem.
Oh, okay.
Every time I rode a bus or a car or roller coaster, I'd always get sick. My mom couldn't even rock me as a baby. I'd get sick. So the one thing I was thinking was, well, this is not making me sick.
And that was the kind of dominant thought. I can't believe that I'm not getting sick from this.
Right.
Yeah, which is realistic. And then, strange too, because you're not, but as it's just very typical, you're not thinking, where am I? They're able to sort of control it. It's just, you hear this again and again, where the abductee is just not thinking, in the same rational way that they would, if they, had just suddenly been taken, they didn't know where they were taken to, and they're in a strange environment, and they're witnessing technology that, and this is, what decade is this? Is this in the 60s now, or?
We were in Florence until 64. So I was in Florence from the first grade through the sixth grade. So I had started in the first grade in Rogersville, but when we moved to Alabama, their qualifications for being in the first grade were different, so I had to repeat the first grade because my birthday's in December, and you had to be a certain age by October or November or something. So I had to repeat the first grade in Florence.
Okay. And then, so what happens now? At some point, I think you see, I believe, in this same abduction, some type of object on the same screen, a flying object that looked like a whiskey barrel.
Oh no, I didn't see that on the screen. That's a separate
abduction. That's an entirely different abduction.
Way before this even happened.
Okay.
That's when we first lived on. My dad worked for TVA, so we moved a lot. When we lived on West College Street, 315 West College Street, I was out in the front yard playing, and over the house came, all I could describe it as a whiskey barrel, but it wasn't rolling this way. It was rolling end over end.
Like tumbling.
Coming over the house, followed by a jet following it. And I've not ever found out what that was all about. I've gone to Florence, Alabama papers and all. I can't find anything about it. So I don't know if this thing was getting ready to crash because it was tumbling end over end, not like a rolling barrel, end over end, with the jet following it. So that happened before the 901 North Royal.
Yeah. Right.
Now, when I got back from that trip,
did anything happen else on that trip before you got back? Before you get to the point where you were back, is that the totality of that experience? You were just taken to your recollection anyway. You were just enveloped in this kind of holographic type screen, and you're witnessing the craft moving in a straight line over Florence, and that's nothing else happened to your memory?
Well, I have to make an assumption because every abduction since the first one, they were doing the anal probe to grab the sperm
Right.
to create the babies.
Yeah, and it's reasonable to make that assumption because that is typically what they're doing. Despite whatever you recall, because screen memory, phenomenon. When you dig into that, under regression or what have you, you find that almost always, there's that procedure, the primary procedures that take place, the examination and the reproductive procedures. Not always, but very common, and I think that's a reasonable deduction that something like that might have occurred. There might have been some procedures. Okay, so and then what happens? There was some detail that you wanted to explain that happened immediately after the end.
When I got back and I found myself in my bed, I could hear my dad in the backyard screaming at them to leave my son alone. Get out of here, leave my son alone. He admitted that later, before he died.
He admitted that too. So he knew
that something had happened to me.
And he must have known even before that point, I would think, because he already seemed to have worked himself up to a state of, leave my son. He already knew it couldn't have been his first discovery of this, because he would be reacting like that. He had already seen something else and deduced that they were taking you, and that he must have seen something. Yeah. That
later on
allowed him to deduce that they were taking you. He must have seen more than just a craft in the vicinity. He must have seen maybe he went into your room at one night. Sometimes happens. And found you not there.
Well, it's like my mom when we lived in Florida, Knoxville. She finally admitted to me, said, "Oh, I woke up one night and there was this little gray guy standing by my bed, and I chased him down the hallway to your bedroom, and he went out your window, and I looked out your window and there was a craft on the driveway." So when were you going to tell me this?
When did she tell you that, or when was that she finally told you that?
Oh,
way later,
in the early 2000s.
Oh, really? Wow. And I wonder if they had their own experiences because of the sort of observations with abductees, or the kind of lineage connection. I wonder if they had their own experiences.
Dad had his own stuff. He was the seventh son. He was psychic. He knew things were going to happen before they did happen, like I can do. He had his own abilities. Very intelligent man, self-taught. I think he only went through the 7th grade, if that far. He would read encyclopedias. He would read dictionaries. Very intelligent man.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure he figured it out at some point.
Yeah. Now, so
he believed I believed it.
Yeah. Now, at some point, I think when you're around 10, 11, or 12, you start to have abductions with the reproductive procedures.
Knowingly having that, yes.
Yeah. And do you want to go into one of those accounts where you recollect the reproductive procedures and the...
Is there an episode you're referring to specifically?
What's a good one that you have a lot of recollection of around that same time period where you recollect the semen extraction procedures that you're comfortable to go into? That is, if you can.
Right. Well, let me explain that. The anal probe. People laugh when you say anal probe. The anal probe, the only purpose of that is to stimulate the prostate to get the sample. That's the only purpose of that. It's
Very
not
interesting. I did not know that until I never thought about that until researching you. But why do you feel that because when you were undergoing the semen extraction procedure, that would happen consistently, simultaneous to that? There would be an anal probe, and then it would seem that would facilitate.
right. They would usually have a tube over me to collect it. Yeah. And then usually during those same things, same encounters, they would then later show me a baby, hold this baby, this is your baby.
Child presentation procedures.
Yeah.
Well, before we get to child presentation, do you recollect any other details about the semen extraction? Now, a lot of times there's a kind of staring procedure that occurs immediately before that, where I think actually they're kind of connecting with you telepathically. David Jacobs thinks that this, kind of puts you in a kind of submissive state of mind to maybe help with cooperation.
Tall white being was always there doing that.
He was always there, and he was doing that. What do you mean by that? Is staring,
standing over me and looking. Yeah, either this way, so I saw his face upside down, or he would stand there and look this way, right at me.
And did he sometimes they place a hand on the abdomen? Did he do anything like that, or did he touch you in any kind of way, or was there any kind of contact with anything other than the collection device?
Yeah. He was very clinical.
Very clinical. And do you remember what happened in your mind during the staring? Do you remember any details of that? Like, did you feel like you were feeling what he was feeling? Was there communication during the staring procedure regarding the sperm collection?
I wasn't quite sure what they were doing because I didn't know how babies were made at that point. So I didn't know what they were doing or why they were doing it. Even though later they would say, well, this is your baby. And I said, well, it can't be my baby. I don't know how babies are made.
Right.
So he must have hypnotized me somehow not to feel the pain, because I didn't feel the pain. I didn't feel what they were doing.
You felt no pain. Yeah, some feel no pain, and then others feel pain and say it's very painful. And in one account, they extracted 3 times during one abduction.
Wow.
One man. And by the end of it, even afterward, he felt in the area of his pubic bone very sore there. And so you felt no pain.
No, even though I saw the device at one point and drew it, it was like, I just describe it. It was like a dildo with vein or curved, pointy things on one side, which would have been painful if I'd known that at the time, but I didn't feel anything.
And it sort of, not to be graphic, but it sort of slid over the entire shaft down to the
collection tube did. It was
okay. What was
separate from the probe?
Oh, the anal probe was the dildo thing. Oh, okay, and it had sort of like tines on it, or bumps, or spikes, or something.
Scary looking.
Scary looking.
Points.
I think if you remember, Todd, what's the abductee that we had on? Lala Bright described being shown by a reptilian, in her case, what looked like a dildo that had spikes on it.
Yes.
She said she saw something like that.
But is the spikes, do you believe that is to somehow do something to the prostate?
And stimulate it.
Yeah. Let's see real quick. Let me see if I can draw it for you.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
please.
because I do know that you can and
Stimulate the process through that.
yes, and you can ejaculate through that.
You
So
see that?
for him saying that makes perfect sense.
Like that.
Yep, we can see that. Yep.
Yeah. Good thing I didn't feel that. That's all I can say. Yeah, they could have been flexible, easily moved and flexible, like I guess a rubber dildo would. It's not like it was metal that I'm aware of.
Right, probably couldn't have been metal because it would have done damage, which
Yes, exactly.
you would have felt or noticed that
Exactly.
afterward. Now, as far as the apparatus, now you said it was tube-like. One of the most common ways it's described is like a tube-like apparatus. Some people just say funnel, others like a cup-like. But with you, it was tube-like.
Yeah.
And was it attached to a machine that was on a cart, or did it come down from the ceiling?
It was off on something on the side.
Came from something on the side.
Probably a vacuum kind of machine that the little guys were working. I mean, they were like the workers. They were doing stuff around me. So I think they were the workers.
Yeah, and there was multiple of them manning this machine.
No, just one. But there was always like two at my head, two at my side, and two at my feet.
Okay.
No matter what was going on. And then the tall white being was in there somewhere.
And then it sort of comes down. Now, as far as if you can talk about this detail, I mean, I think it's important to sort of go over all the details of this. How did they stimulate an erection? Now, some people experience erotic imagery that flashes through their mind. Other people, they don't even have an erection. It goes over it anyway. And
I don't recall ever getting an erection.
Yeah, a lot of times, the abductee reports, did not have an erection, but they still extracted. And then sometimes
you can have an orgasm without an erection if you massage the prostate properly.
Prostate, yes.
Right. So yeah,
that's what I was saying a little bit ago, Jim. When I asked about
which
the
I didn't know
stimulation of that,
you
can
ejaculate just by the stimulation of the prostate through the
without an erection.
Yeah, I did not know that, so that makes sense. And so some procedures, they don't recollect any kind of rectal probe or anything like that, but they do recollect an erection, and so maybe there's different ways, if
whatever worked for them.
Right. And then so it fits over, and then some people describe a pumping mechanism. Did you sense a kind of pumping mechanism or a suction?
What was over there?
Yeah.
I mean,
did you feel a kind of suction? You didn't feel any kind of suction.
No.
Did you have the sense, though, did you understand what was happening? The semen was being.
Not at that age.
Oh, not at that age. Yeah.
Later on, I realized what was happening, but not in my early age. No.
Right. Yeah, it says it's been said by David Jacobs that most of the time the subject is vaguely aware of what's happening during the semen extraction procedures. Oftentimes they're made to. You don't remember any kind of. You didn't have any kind of screen memories or anything like you had sex with a woman or had sex with an alien.
Not at that point.
Yeah.
Not until like 1992.
And what about, some people go through this procedure and find it incredibly humiliating and feeling like they've been raped. And what was your sense of it? Did you experience that, or?
Well, see, I really hate that term raped. I didn't feel like I was raped. I just feel like.
I don't think that's accurate. I really don't think it is an accurate term to use.
Because rape would mean So there's so many other connotations to that term.
Yeah, like the rape implies, something is trying to get pleasure, exploiting you, at your expense, in order to derive pleasure, and that's quite a different thing, other than
it was all technical and scientific
Yeah.
and straight to the point. And yeah, they couldn't have received pleasure out of it.
right.
No, that was a procedure. That's what they,
Right.
to them, yes, absolutely, procedure.
Something they've been doing all the time.
Yes.
Oh yeah, here's another one.
Anything else that you can recollect interesting about these procedures? Anything that the Greys are doing? Anything that was communicated? Was there any communication ever during any of these procedures that you recall about anything from the Tall White or from the Greys?
Nothing other than remain calm. It'll be over soon.
Just the reassuring statements. Yeah.
Jesse, was the Tall White like the doctor, like the head doctor?
He was in control.
Yeah, he was telling the smaller ones
what to do,
the procedure. Yes.
Well,
he would issue instructions.
I don't think he was verbally saying that to them,
right?
Because I never heard words, but they obviously were following some instructions from somewhere.
Yes.
Maybe it was just routine. Okay, we've got one. Here's what we do. Here's what we do in this order.
Absolutely.
It's not like he's not like he stood there telling them what to do.
Yes.
Some abductees have seen the Greys being taught almost. Like there's some occasions where the Greys almost need to be like explained to, as to how to do this. More rarely, but you didn't.
Never.
They all seemed like they absolutely knew what to do. Okay, and so, and what happens at the end of the procedure? Anything notable that you recollect? Does child presentation sometimes follow these procedures?
Yes. When I was going to say when I got in the sixth grade, is when I start remembering seeing the babies because they would be presenting them to me. He said, "This is your baby."
Around the 6th grade.
Yeah. So
how old are you when you're in 6th grade? I can't even remember.
I would have been 12.
I was going to say 11, 12.
Yeah.
And how did these presentations, child presentations, go down typically? Or if you want to describe a specific one.
Well, hey, Jesse, how about this? Sorry, Jim. When you were told that this is your baby, you're young, and you didn't yet even understand how babies were made. How did that make you feel?
Confused, and then they would have me hold it. I think to try to bond with it, which is weird because I've never been able to hold any of my nieces and nephews when they were babies. I can't hold a baby, a real human baby. I can't.
Is it because of that experience?
All of those experiences with new baby, hold this baby, because one time they cried. But anyway, like I have a nephew, when he was just a baby, his mother, my sister, said, "I want a picture of you holding Nick." And I said, "I can't do that." She says, "Well, sit down and let me sit him on your lap." She sat down, set him on my lap, took a picture and said, "Take him." I couldn't stand for him to be there.
Because of the abduction experiences, you mean? Because you associated the act of holding a child with that aspect of the abduction, and that brought back those emotions. And,
wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think I now have 8 nieces and nephews. I've never held one of.
And does your family understand the reason why?
Eventually, I told them why. Yep.
Okay. Wow.
There's a lot of things like that, abductees who have an aversion to sex because of the sexual procedures, and can't, or kind of psychologically damaged in that way, and immediately get panicky and anxiety,
Well,
in the
I'll
sex.
admit I was a virgin until I was 28.
So you also kind of had that an aversion. Yeah. I think it's probably fairly common, and I think probably a lot of abductees might not uh, admit to that in particular.
Right.
Um, okay, so child presentation. Now, they would typically happen after semen extraction, but obviously, the child that you're being presented with is not from the semen that was just
No,
extracted. Obviously, it was from previous
previous.
semen. And do they take you to another room
No,
for this?
right while
They
I'm right
just,
on the table.
while you're on the same table that you had the semen extraction procedure done, they
Yep.
bring it up to you. Now, what's the size of? Now, are we talking about a fetus? Are we talking about a baby? Or are we talking about a
Enough
adolescent?
you can hold it in 2 hands. That's small.
Like a fetus?
Bigger than, well, I guess I've never seen a fetus. But whatever would fit in 2 hands, head to toes.
Uh-huh.
Head up here, toes down here.
And so what, and they would come up to you, would they communicate anything? Or sometimes they say, isn't this a nice baby? Or wouldn't you like to hold the baby? They didn't say anything like that to you. They just presented it to you. They just came up and
then they knew in my head I was saying, well, what is this? And then the white being said, well, this is one of your babies.
And you probably were in disbelief. Oh no, this can't be my baby, because
I said that.
I know, yeah. And you told them that, yeah. Now, what did they look like? These babies, lifeless? Were they moving?
They were moving. They were. It's hard to describe them. They were a cross between. Well, they were like small humans, but with the big eyes. Oh, there's a good one. Except they were bigger than that, but yeah, twice that size. Yeah, twice that size.
So it looks like a small human, but it's got big black eyes.
Yeah.
Or like the Greys, or just like human eyes but larger.
Like the humans, the tall white being guy.
Okay. Blue, black. Oh, they're black, right?
They looked black to me. Yeah.
They look black. Yeah. And then so you take them in your hands, and then they tell you to embrace it.
Yeah, I would embrace it up to my chest.
And then just hold it, like rock. Did they want you to rock it?
I didn't rock them. No, because I knew rocking made me sick as a baby, and I didn't want to make them sick. So I just steady as can be.
And how long?
When this was going on, you was how old?
It started when I was, as I recall, I was about 12.
Yeah.
When the baby
so yes, wow, I can't even fathom that. That is
that's a 12-year-old. Yeah.
Wow.
It's just without any, and why not, give you some kind of primer? Why not try to resolve your perplexity and with something, like, I guess maybe you can't, you can't really to a 12-year-old, explain the hybridization program, or anything. I guess maybe that's just kind of how, there's just no way to sort of alleviate the confusion.
I didn't even understand sex at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wow.
That's so strange, because what would you think was happening? Like, you feel sure. I mean, this is not my baby. Why are they telling me that it's my baby?
Yeah, that's what I would
Why
say to
would they
myself.
say?
I was confused.
Right.
I mean, they
Maybe-
just let you think that. They just let
Yeah.
you be confused.
Yeah.
And then how long does that go on for when you've got the baby in your hand, in your
As long
embrace?
as I can stand it, which wasn't long.
You would eventually get to a point. Well, what would happen mentally?
I would look down and I'd have to look up because I didn't want to see it. And then I would say, here, take it back. I mean, I don't think I verbally said, here, take it back, but in my mind, here, take it back.
Yeah. And so what was the emotion there? Was it kind of like scary or nauseating?
Sad.
Sad. Okay. Sad because what did you feel like? You felt like
I didn't understand what this was all about.
Yeah.
They said, this is my baby. It doesn't look like me. I don't know where this came from. Don't know how this happened. Why are you doing this to me? Here, take it back.
Yeah, the mental, my goodness, it would have been horrible. And who are you going to tell? I mean,
Right.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Nobody for many, many years later.
Right.
After I had the implant removed, and that was 34 years later. That would, 89.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many times did this happen?
The baby thing?
A child presentation experience like that you recall?
2 to 3 times a year. Except 1990, I believe it was 1990. There was at least 9 to 12 times.
So every abduction
Created
there was typically a child presentation that happened.
Correct. So I've estimated there's probably 100 children. If you do the calculations, 2 to 3 times a year since I was 5 or 6, and until it stopped in 1992. I mean, the last one I saw was 1999. The last impregnation with the creature was 1992. Because the child that died was 7 years old, 6, 7 years old.
Before we move on to that, so was every child presentation pretty much exactly like you just described, or was there some variances where you were presented with older children, or were they always that same size baby that was placed in your hands?
There was one I recall, they presented me with a baby that was crying. He was the first one that ever cried when they presented him to me.
Was this a larger, more developed baby?
Yeah. And I couldn't understand why he was crying. And so I started crying, and I said, here, take him. I can't do this. I don't know why he was crying. Still to this day, I don't know.
Now, was this when you were told by the tall white, thank you for giving us your children?
Twice.
He said that to you twice. And did he say anything else at that? Well, let's start with the first time.
That was the baby that was crying.
He was crying.
He said, thank you for giving us your children.
Afterward, like while you were holding the children?
After I handed it back. If I'm recalling right, that was the baby.
Does it like imply that you could have given consent somehow without your knowing it somewhere?
I would hope so.
Yeah.
And I've said, after it all stopped, I've said, if you just asked me politely and up front, I probably would have said yes, but you didn't ever ask me.
Yeah. Or they didn't ask you that you know of. I think personally that it's still open to question, whether there's, some people feel on the soul level, before, this lifetime, there's contractual arrangements made. You don't think that holds water?
I don't believe that. personally, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
Because I think, why would I choose this life ahead of time?
Right.
Why would I go through this? If I know this is going to happen,
Yeah, it
why
seems
would I do this?
not a rational decision to make.
And Jesse, I definitely, I feel that same way. I mean, I hear a lot of people say that we choose, that I do not believe that at all.
No, not rationally. I mean, why would we choose the pain, the suffering, the mental anguish?
Yeah.
To go through that and come out the other end with nothing?
Right.
Just cut off, done, no explanation of why me, specifically me.
I understand that, yeah. So if we can, let's move on to, I think, what's got to be the most, or one of the most bizarre procedures that you've had, the sexual procedure.
Right.
Give us the full detail of what happened. Do you remember leading up to that, like how the abduction went down? What period of your life was this, first of all?
It was in 1992. I was working down in Peachtree City, Georgia, working on the movie Pet Sematary Part 2. I worked on the first one. I was working on the second one.
Mm-hmm. As a script supervisor, or what was your role in that? Yeah.
We each had our own apartment. The day was done. I went to my apartment. I laid down, and one of them came through the sliding doors into my apartment.
One of the Greys?
Yeah. Well, it was two of them.
Two of them.
And they carried me out, and then the next thing I know, I'm on the ship. Laying on the table. Well, actually, I'm not laying on a table. I'm sitting like in a chair like this.
Mm-hmm.
Same atmosphere. There's tall white beings there. The little Greys are around me. They bring in this creature. She looked like a starving Somalia woman. Skin and bones. Black. All black. Skin and bones. Frightening.
Frightening looking. Now, did it look? Is that when you say she looked like a starving Somali woman? Is that the closest resemblance?
Yes.
But it didn't look human, though. It didn't look exactly like a starving Somali woman.
Yes,
That's just because of the emaciated appearance and the
skin and bone.
And it was a feminine kind of appearance to her as well.
Well, I'm assuming she was feminine because they forced me to have sex with her.
Okay.
They pushed me back in my chair, and then they brought her over and sat her on me. And I started.
And she was so weak. Before you go on, right? She was like already discernibly to you, like weak and not right or healthy, because they had to lift her, right? She didn't get onto you on her board. No. They lifted her, which is like, you hear about these types of procedures where, there'll be a sexual, a hybrid looking alien or some kind of alien. But this is the first time I've ever heard where they had to physically.
Yeah, I don't think she could have had the strength.
So she
muscle strength. It was bones, almost skeletal.
Mm-hmm.
And they set her on me, and they inserted the anal probe.
Oh.
And at that point, I lost it. I was screaming. I was yelling. I was crying. I was trying to get up, but I was being held down. I couldn't move.
You're paralyzed.
Yeah, I was closing my eyes because I didn't want to see her, want to see what was happening. And I paralyzed, and I just wanted out of this. So somehow I managed to push her off of me, or push her back. And she grabbed for my arms. And
because she was losing her balance, and she kind of tried to stabilize
herself. She
herself.
grabbed me, and there were 3 claw marks down this arm.
which you have a picture of. I saw on one of your other interviews. If anybody's interested, there's pictures of that out there. And so she kind of had sharp nails or claws, or
She must have had nails because
Yeah.
there were nail marks, but there were only 3 of them.
You think she had 3?
I'm
Fingers?
assuming she did.
That's the
But
most common.
maybe it was the way. Maybe she grabbed me like that, and her pinky was up, or something. Something was different from the way she grabbed me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe with me pushing her off, it was different.
What did her face look like?
A human skull.
A human-sized skull.
Oh,
Anything grotesque about the face, or?
I didn't want to look at it. I did not want to look at it. That's why I kept closing my eyes.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to know what this thing was on me.
And when she got on you, was she animated? Was she, sort of participated? Was she physically herself kind of performing intercourse, or bobbing up and down, or
They were doing that for her.
they were doing that for her? And she was just kind of lifeless, but she was moving somewhat.
Yeah. I don't think from looking at her, I don't think she would have the strength to do anything. So here we come back to rape. If there was ever a rape, that was it.
Yeah, right. And okay, so how long did that proceed for before you were able to finally push her back?
A minute at the most. Yeah. However long it took to get the sample up in her.
So you did.
Yeah. Because the baby was created.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So as you're pushing her back and she scratches you, and then what happened? Did they try to put her back on you, or
No? They took her off. Took her away.
They took her off at that point.
And
Did she make any sounds?
I was crying and yelling and screaming, get her off, get her off, get her off.
Mm-hmm. Did she make any vocalizations or say anything, or
no?
She was just silent.
Yeah.
For anybody that's incredulous as to this type of experience, this is reported. It's not nearly as common as the typical reproductive procedures. Women and men and semen extraction and egg harvesting and fetus extraction and stuff like that. But this does happen, and there's a lot of different beings and aliens described that will mount. That will come. You're on the table. They come in and they mount you, and that's how it goes down, exactly like this. This is the first time I've ever heard a being like you're describing. It looked like an emaciated Somali woman, but it absolutely. Bud Hopkins knew of many cases like this. Anything else with that experience that happened at the end?
Once they took her away, I was back in my apartment. Don't know how I got back, but I was back.
And then, where do we go from here to finish this out? Do you want to talk about the ceremony?
Later.
Say again.
7 years later, with the death of that daughter that was created. Yeah,
that experience.
Our support group had a Christmas party, end of November 1999, at the Magic Castle in LA. I went. I normally don't go to functions, but I decided, well, this is the group. I know these people. I'll go with them because I hate being in groups of people I don't know. But anyway,
this was the people like the
abduction group.
Oh, the abduction group. Not with. So not. This wasn't the people, your associates at your
at work.
Yeah, at work. Okay.
No. In fact, I rarely went to a wrap party after a movie. I just didn't like it. Anyway,
yeah,
a Christmas party for the abductees, and I stayed later than normal. I was having a good time, believe it or not, and I stayed later. So when I got home, I walked into my apartment in Burbank, and there were two grays standing there waiting on me. I recall seeing them there, and I got this thing in my head, "You're late," and then I was out. The next thing I remember, I'm backstage. It's either at the Hollywood Bowl or the Skylight Bowl. But there's a black curtain, and they open the curtain, and I walk through onto the stage, and I see all my children off to one side, and the tall white beings over here. In the middle of the stage, on a white sheet, there's a little 7-year-old. The top of her head was black.
Is she wrapped in the sheet, or is she totally visible at this point?
Totally visible. Her hands up so far are black, and her feet up so far are black, and the top of her head's black. Everything else is white, Caucasian.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at it real funny, and I said, "What happened to this one?" The tall white being said, "This one died." So I knew I had to do something. I was being told in my head to do something. So I went over and I kneeled down. I looked at her, started putting the sheet over her. And then I stood up, stepped back. A craft appeared. There's people in the audience. Later, I realized they're people from our support group with the people that abduct them. So a support group member and their abductee, a support group member and their abductee.
And some of them had their own recollections of that, right?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
They literally remembered seeing this happen, which is just really extraordinary. But go on, yes.
So a craft appeared over the open air theater, and a beam came down, and they took our body up into the craft, and it slowly flew off. And that's when the tall white being again said, "Thank you for giving us your children." And all of my children came and encircled me and hugged me. And they were all different sizes and different ages.
Like a group hug. They all came sort of huddled together.
Yeah. And of course, I started crying, and he repeated it, "Thank you for giving us your children." And the next thing I know, I'm back in my apartment in Burbank.
That is quite the experience. Where do you think that took place? Do you think that I mean,
that I've gotten pictures of the Hollywood Bowl and Skyline, or I think it's called Skyline Drive Theater. It was at either of those. I haven't seen, but I have to see it from the stage, and I've never been to either of those places, so I don't know what a view from the stage looks like.
Mm-hmm. Which some people would think, that can't be possible. I mean,
in the middle of Hollywood, or on the hill in Burbank.
But the thing is that we know, and I've talked to many abductees, and in fact, I think we got into this a little bit with our last guest. I think that when they're taking you out of your bedroom, and the abductee, observes that, something's weird about the world, that I'm floated up to the craft, and I'm not hearing anything. I'm not hearing the dogs barking, that are normally barking, things look weird. I really think that, and I think we do know, from many other types of experiences that people have, maybe even near-death experiences, that reality, there's layers to this dimension. There's a part of this physical plane that's just outside of what we can perceive or where we're at. I don't know how to exactly to explain this, but maybe just sort of out of this frequency, some people say, and everything is still physically here, all the buildings and everything, but it's not quite on the dial of this dimension. It's kind of slightly in another dimension or plane or realm of some kind.
If you're ever in an accident or something, time sort of moves very slowly, like you are in a different time slip.
You're saying that when during the abductions, time is like this?
I'm figuring that that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Because how did I get from here to the ship and the ship back so quickly? I mean, was
Right.
I unconscious for, I don't know, 15 minutes to get to the craft and get landed, and then 15 minutes to get back?
Jesse, when they said thank you for giving us your children, did that whole thing feel like closure at the end?
No.
Do you feel that maybe that was
because I didn't know that was the last. I didn't know that was going to be the last time.
And could it possibly have been their expression of gratitude, or to justify what they done?
Gratitude, I think, because at that point I didn't realize that was my last time to be abducted. But it never happened. It has not happened since. Still not happened.
And you feel certain that it has in fact ended? You don't feel like there's the possibility that maybe there's an abduction and I just have no conscious recollection of it, or the memory?
No, I've always had some kind of knowledge.
You've always had some kind of conscious, yeah.
But it kind of lets you hanging at the end, because you have no idea what's happening now.
Right.
So it's definitely, now that I think about it, would not be closure, because it's like an abandonment. Like they abandoned you. They said, hey, see ya.
Yeah. Well, I do know one thing though. The first child I had was a girl, and her name is Elle, E-L-L-E. Well, Elle is French for female. She's taking care of all my kids. She's the oldest, because she was there. She sort of gathered the kids around me.
She was there at the ceremony.
Yeah. So I was grateful for her that I can have the satisfaction of knowing she's taken care of, because I can't be there to do that. And if they were to come tonight and say, you get to see your kids, I said, let's go. That's what I'd say.
Wow.
And it's still possible that you might,
I hope so. Strangely enough, after all I've been through, I hope so.
Yeah.
I really do.
Because just, such is the bond between a parent and his children.
No, I don't have Earth children.
You don't, yeah.
And that's one of my big regrets in life. It just wasn't meant to be in this lifetime.
Yeah.
So if they were to come tonight, I would go. So this may be the last time I see you all. Because I think I would ask to stay with them.
Wow.
And would they be grown up now?
I would hope.
Yeah. I mean, I guess because we're talking about when you saw them at the ceremony, what year was that again?
99.
That was 99. And they were small, Did they seem childlike at that point?
Childlike, yeah. I mean, Elle, even though she's the oldest, she was like a young girl. I mean, she wasn't maybe 5 feet, maybe, and all the others were shorter than her.
Did she tell you her name in a previous abduction? Did you have other experiences with Elle?
Yeah, she was there a lot.
There's many experiences with
when I would see my children. I don't know how I came up with the name Elle. It just came into my head one time. Like, well, who was that? Oh, that was Elle. Elle? Okay.
Yeah, I think, when you have something that just comes in your head, that's probably a conveyance, that's probably a telepathic, conveyance from them. And that's what or maybe that's not what they call themselves, but that's what they gave to you, refer to her as, yeah.
And I think it's strange that it's French for a female.
Yeah. Yeah. Why French? Why the French word for female? What did Elle look like? Well, before we close out, just get those final details. Was she like I'll just describe the typical hybrid, the abductee see, which is light in weight, larger head than normal, disproportionately large head, large eyes, but with whites. So sometimes no whites. So sometimes they don't have whites. She had no black eyes.
Yeah. If it were eyes, it could be, like I say, I don't know if it was like sunglasses or a protective covering.
Mm-hmm. Which that is possible given, if they're in space, residing in space, they might have some kind of eye protective wear because of being in that environment. And so small ears, nose and mouth, very sort of diminutive features.
I don't ever see real ears or real nose, and sort of a slit for a mouth.
Oh, so it's she's very gray-like, more gray-like than human-like.
Yes,
but they all
seem to be.
So it gives me the impression that these are some of like the early generation type hybrids. Because it seems like as time went on, the hybrids that people would describe became more and more human-like, to the point of what David Jacobs calls the hybrids, which he thinks look exactly like us and could pass easily. People. Yeah. And these ones couldn't pass.
None of these could pass in our world.
Mm-hmm. How were they different from the grays? How were they hybrid looking? What was human like about them that differed from the typical gray?
They were more animated. They were more playful. They were more like children.
Playful in terms of jumping around.
Moving around, and
Interesting. Yeah. And was there communications from them? Would they? No. Sometimes abductees describe a staring procedure from their hybrids. They'll look at you in your eyes for a period of time. Did you ever have?
When they were encircling me and hugging me, I would look down, and some of them would be looking up at me.
Mm-hmm. Do the eyes move? Is there gesture? Is there, with these hybrids, was there kind of
blinking,
facial expressions?
Blinking, but
blinking.
Black, I can't tell if there's movement because it's all black. There's no white to compare to see if they're moving.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so did they not seem listless to you? As a lot of people sometimes describe the hybrids as kind of listless, not very animated.
No.
These were not listless. They were animated.
Right.
And what kind of clothing? Did they have clothing on? So people have described loose-fitting gowns or smocks, some people say, or tight-fitting black clothing sometimes.
I never could distinguish clothing on them. So maybe the clothing was the same color as their skin.
Mm.
They were a suit or whatever, but I never could distinguish.
Yeah.
Of course, then I could not distinguish sexual apparatus either, because obviously they were wearing something,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't distinguish what they were, if they were clothing or not.
Todd, do you have any questions about the hybrids?
No.
Did you play with them, or was there playing ever with the hybrid? They never brought you in and wanted you to play with the hybrids?
No, that them encircling me was the only
Mm-hmm.
time of any kind of interaction with them.
Yeah. And what about the hair? Did they have any hair? You never saw hair. You never saw hair. You feel sure that they didn't have hair, or you just didn't? They might have had hair.
They could have had hair.
They could have had hair. Yeah. Yeah. Some people describe the hair as being very thin and not very discernible.
And it could be, could have been white and gray like mine. I was born white-headed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they all had white hair.
Possibly. Yeah. Okay, so I guess we'll wrap it up. So what's your general feeling as to the nature of your abductions? And do you have the sense that it was, just to, yes, what I wanted to ask, what do you think is the purpose of the hybrids? I think it was conveyed to you something to that effect at one point, that as to what they would be used for, or
to create a new civilization.
You were told by a hybrid or a gray or something.
A white being.
The tall white said this.
That they were going to be used to create a new civilization to survive the next 1,000 years or so.
And were you shown any imagery or anything at the time of that conveyance? So that's very in line with what other abductees have been told, that they're breeding children that will populate a new Earth. And sometimes they're shown on the screens, kind of idyllic planet that looks like Earth, but too perfect. And with the hybrids living, you didn't see anything like that. But they basically told you something similar as that they would be populating a new world or a new civilization.
Oh, and that I should be proud to be the father of a new civilization.
And what's your feeling as to where do you feel like that civilization is going to be here? Like if something were to happen with humankind, or if there was some catastrophe, that they would be the ones to repopulate afterwards? Some abductees have been told this.
I think I get the feeling, I wasn't told, but I get the feeling it's Earth that's going to change, that they're going to have to come forth and run the world at that point. I wasn't told that, but that's my feeling I get. Because I've also got this feeling that before too long, they are all going to come back, and I'm going to have to present my children to the world.
Mm-hmm. Todd, do you have any final thoughts here, or do you want to?
No, this was a very powerful episode, and
we really got into some great detail as far as these events, which I think is important to kind of really dive deep into these procedures and the details.
Yes.
Well, thanks for having me. You've asked some questions other people haven't asked, so that's nice.
Jesse, I am sorry for everything that you went through.
Mm-hmm.
This story it's amazing. I'm really lost for words at this time. We would love to have you back on to talk some more.
Yeah, there's many more encounters that are just as exciting.
Is there?
Yeah. Like the time my car was taken off the interstate with me in it.
Oh, with the Camaro, yeah. I heard a little bit about that in one of your other interviews.
Well, we would love to have you on and hear about those.
Okay.
For sure.
Let me know when.
Absolutely. And, I'd like to thank everybody for joining it tonight and giving your comments and sticking in there with us. This was a very powerful show. So thank you all for joining us tonight. It was a deeply personal episode of Paranomaly Beyond Disclosure. And what Jesse shared with us goes far beyond abduction. It speaks to memory, to trauma, and to the enduring, unshakable bond between a father and his children. Even when these children were never held in his arms on this earth. The story reminds us that not all scars bleed and not all love begins with consent. And yet, love remains. From the first moment in that Tennessee sandbox to the final goodbye on the stage, Jesse has carried the truth that most would never have spoken aloud. So, Jesse, thank you for your courage. Thank you for your honesty. And thank you for giving a voice to the parts of this phenomena that so often go ignored. And that's the human part, the soul part. And to those of you listening, whether you're experiencers yourself or simply seek of truth, know this. You're not alone. Your story matters. And somewhere between memory and mystery, healing is possible. Please don't forget to like and follow and subscribe. And if you have a story of your own, please reach out. We're always willing to listen. Till next time, keep your eye on the skies, your spirit grounded, and your heart open to the truth. This was Paranomaly Beyond Disclosure. Have a good evening. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for tuning in with us tonight. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and follow to receive notifications when new content is made available. A Paranomaly Beyond Disclosure is looking to talk with ufologists, researchers, investigators, contactees, abductees, channelers, and more for upcoming shows. Or if you have stories, photos, videos, questions, suggestions, or comments, please contact us through Messenger or email us at paranomalypodcast@gmail.com. You can also visit us at paranomalypodcast.com for more content and information, including all our social links. I thank you again for watching or listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode of Paranomaly Beyond Disclosure.